Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Falcon Insider Show. Today, I have with me once again host Ricky Baptist.
Hi, Ricky, Sports Innovation Director. Happy to be here.
Ricky, let's start. Last week, decent week for us, not too great. Football kind of lost 36-7 to Angelo State. And kind of the bad news of the week, lost Dylan Graham for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and not the best weekend for the Falcons. That was kind of the thing that finished it off. Not a terrible game to start. Kind of back and forth defensive struggle. Like if you like football, like that was kind of enjoyable. Had some defensive scores. Some sloppy play on special teams, keeping things interesting. But other than that, at the end of the day, obviously the score kind of speaks for itself. Just not the best day for the Falcons. And now kind of the whole idea, our 500 team, 3-3. You could play the number 9 team in the country this weekend. How do you regroup and go forward and make the rest and the best of your season? And that was going to kind of be one of my questions for you as a former Division II football player. I don't know if you've ever been at this point in a season where maybe you don't know if the playoffs are still in your future and that type of thing. But like as an athlete, what are the players playing for at this point? Are you just playing for each other? Are you just playing for self-respect and to keep the season going well? Or what do you think is going to be their motivation going forward?
Well, it's kind of like Coach McCullough mentioned in our press conference, they still have a chance to have a winning season.
Absolutely.
And it'll be the first time in school history that they had back-to-back winning seasons. So
You're right.
You're still playing for that. You're kind of like you mentioned right now. You're playing for the man beside you. You put all that work in for the season that you just don't want to go ahead and say we're going to lose last so many games we have. So, and then also just to build on the players that are coming back, build on next year. Just because you had a bad year this year doesn't mean it's going to continue. So, it's like you said, still a lot to play for. Even though you may not necessarily have a chance to win the conference title, maybe be playing a bowl game. If not, just at least build on something for next year so that people see that you're still a formidable opponent to face.
Absolutely.
And then kind of like you mentioned, the score was kind of lopsided, but we only gave up. ASU only had 280 yards of offense, total offense for the game. 3
more yards of offense than the Falcons had. And then, one thing that's kind of been harped on all week is 86 of those yards came on one play, and then 156 of those yards came from the quarterback rushing. Don't get me wrong, Braden Folder, he was a beast. Kudos to him. He did a great job. But, if the defense, you eliminate half those plays, take away that 80 yards. Now they're down below 200 yards of offense. ASU, can give them credit. They're one of the better defenses in the country. But I think we showed that we can be too. And so, you take away a couple of those turnovers, a couple of sloppy special teams plays, take over that couple of maybe even just 2 of those rushing touchdowns. It's a completely different game. Obviously, penalties played a factor in it too. But it's not like, the score doesn't indicate how close I think the game was. I think we all take away and understand that. And, when you have the hit there on that second drive, that we're talking about with the injury, like it's going to be hard to recover from that no matter what team you are. I don't care if you're Central Washington, ranked number 9 in the country, you lose your starting quarterback, the leader of your team that Coach McCullough talks about, it's going to hit you hard. And so I do give credit for the Falcons that they kept battling and fighting and trying to find a way, and they were right there. Again, the score does not indicate what the game could have been.
Yeah. And kind of not really outcome wasn't in our favor, but true freshman Isaac Mooring, first touchdown of his career, and 38-yard pass to Ben Patterson. So something for him to build on.
Big bright spot, I thought. And Kapua, the backup quarterback, did his thing as well. But Mooring, when he came in, I think it was literally his first play. He found Deion Cook 20 or 30 yards down the field. Like he just kind of said, we're going for it. And so like that's hard as a freshman. I would think, again, as not an athlete myself, like just to come in and say, we're going to throw, we're going to try. He did that, and he left it all out there. So that was really fun to see. And again, in a game like that, you're looking for kind of those bright spots and those things that make it enjoyable. And that was one of those things for me to watch him just kind of come out in his first real action as a collegiate player and just really look fearless, to be honest.
And moving on, volleyball, another okay week for them. Pretty not good, not bad. Went 1-1 last week, lost Friday. But then responded and picked up another 3-1 victory. Yeah,
responded in a big way. Kingsville, they play on Friday night. That's a tough team right there. It was top 5 in the conference, made the NCAA tournament last year. To get swept, I'm sure, was almost demoralizing in a way, like it doesn't feel good. And I think we felt pretty good going into the match. So, Coach Allard kind of talks about like, okay, you don't have a whole lot of time to dwell on that, though. You have to move on when you play Saturday. And I think that was good for us. They dropped that first set on Saturday at International. And then the rest of the way, it was kind of like the first time they played International, just won the next 3 sets. And I think that showed the resiliency of this team. And International is a team that they did beat us last year. And now we've beaten them twice this year. So if that doesn't kind of show you the progression and where we are as a team. And one of the things that I picked up on the Friday match, Kingsville's broadcasters were very complimentary and talking about how they thought these were potentially both top 5 or 6 teams in the conference, which again, volleyball picked, tied for 9th, I think, in the preseason poll to be in that conversation for 5 or 6 spot. You're talking potential NCAA tournament berth at that point. So, I'm really happy to see where volleyball is. So you've got a long season to go. Nothing's accomplished yet, but they're playing well, and they got 2 winnable matches this week.
And they've really shown so far this season that completely different team than last year, and they should finish better with a better overall record.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they do have a lot of returners too. It's not like it's a completely different roster. They're just the new coach, a couple, they breathe a new life, a new energy into the program, new schemes. I think that's a big part of it. Volleyball's a lot of that is your system you run and those types of things. And he's got them playing really well, and he's got them playing confident. And I think that's again they're one of the funner teams to watch.
And they return home this week. Thursday they play Texas Women's at 6 p.m. and then on Saturday. Midwestern State at 2 p.m. So
yeah, and Texas women, that's going to be a real challenge right there. I mean, they're one of the better volleyball programs in our conference, but you got them on your home court. So kind of like we talked about a couple weeks ago with West Texas. This is your chance. You want to be that team that can make a push for the playoffs and show that you can be a top 5 team in the conference. Got to play well against Texas women's.
And the Falcon Dome is always an interesting place for us to play. I mean, I feel like our teams do always so much better, even men's and women's basketball included.
Yeah.
When they get to play in that gym, because it's just different, a little louder.
CJ talks about it.
So,
We've had great attendance so far in our volleyball matches and kind of standing room only. And so it's different for other teams to come in there. You only got the bleachers on one half, and so you see all the people on one side and just comes at you. It's just a little different than probably most gyms that teams are used to playing in.
Yep. Kind of moving on. Soccer only had one match last week, but it was against a top 10 ranked team in DBU.
Yep.
And so, kind of like she mentioned in the press conference, that 2 minutes of kind of letdown led to 3 goals. And she also mentioned in the press conference they had 4 shots and 3 found the back of the net.
Yeah. We outshot them 8-6. I mean, I think you tell any coach you're going to go play a nationally ranked number 11, number 10 team in the country, and you're going to outshoot them. I think you're going to take that as a coach. It's going to give you a chance to win. The difference is our shots didn't go in, and they had one shot that was really good that went in early in the match, and then we talk about that 2 minutes where they had back-to-back goals in a 2-minute span. Just kind of it shows you how quickly in soccer 1 or 2 mistakes can come back to bite you and change the match, and that's really what happened in that. You take those 2 out. It's a completely different match. And now in the second half, you're fighting to try to tie the game instead of just get on the scoreboard in a 3-score game.
Yeah. And I mean, while they did lose, Coach kind of mentioned this as well during a press conference. The momentum is not down. They played great for the rest of the half. And so I think, kind of like she mentioned, they still have a lot. They're still in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first conference loss. So it's not, it's not like you're 0-3 in the conference right now and you're saying, what do we do? Like, your one conference loss is to probably who's arguably the best team in the conference. Like, you're okay. And I think, one thing that I took, complimentary to Coach Tejas and the team is they didn't change their style or change anything about how they played. They continued to be aggressive, and we talk about leading in shots, and that was a part of that. She didn't, it would have been really easy to say we're going to put all 10 or 11 players back on defense and try to not let these teams score on us, and they didn't do that. Yeah. They stuck to their style, and so again, we take away those 2 goals, it's a 1-score game. So that's really complimentary from what I can kind of see. And so again, I think that was really cool to see. And so they have a chance going forward. They beat a team a couple weeks ago that they'd never beaten before on the road like that. They have a chance to be really fun.
Oh yeah, and similar to volleyball, they're home tomorrow facing Lubbock Christian at 7 p.m. and then they'll hit the road to face UT Tyler.
Scott Larson Boldemarl, our new athletic director, that's his former school, so he'll always get up for those games, and I think we can expect to see our team get up in the same fashion. Got to defend your home field. Coming off a loss on Saturday, this will be a great chance to rebound and kind of get the taste of that out your mouth and get back to the winning ways.
Yeah, and I know that Coach Tejas had that team more than prepared, and they'll be excited to kind of play in front of the home fans again.
Yeah, and especially, as a coach, I think sometimes when you take that kind of, I don't want to say unexpected loss, because again, you're playing a really good team, but in the style in which we lost, I think it lights a new fire under, the coaching staff as well. And so, I think we're going to see a pretty amped up team tomorrow.
Because I mean, you weren't here last year, but this team compared to last year, I feel like it's different energy.
Yeah.
A lot more. It's just different energy about the team. It's hard to kind of explain, but I mean, they're very.
I know they have a ton
different
of
team.
seniors and upperclassmen. I think they had 13 seniors for senior day, so it makes sense. Like those seniors want to go out doing something that's never been done before. They don't want to just have an okay so-so season. They want to really make history. I think Coach Tejas says that a lot, and I think that's really true with this group.
Oh, hey, you can see it. Cross country, I mean, they're never home for us, but I mean they had a great week.
Yeah.
Alana finished 9th out of 35 runners, and then led to the team finishing 4th, and then Kayla Cepeda and Julie Tejada both ran personal best.
Absolutely, yeah. So last regular season beat there for the Falcons at the Greyhound Invite in New Mexico. Eastern New Mexico was the host. Honestly, I'm sure Coach couldn't have thought of a better way to finish the regular season. Having a top 10 like that, placed pretty well as a team, have 2 PRs. Now, the tricky part is you have 3 weeks off until the conference championships. So that's always interesting is how do you manage that time? Because they've been competing every single week for 4 weeks now, and all of a sudden you're not competing until the conference. So, but yeah, again, as far as finishing the regular season goes, hats off to all the Falcons there who, ran their tails off at 6K. I don't know how many of you would be distance runners, but it's not an easy thing to do. So, they've been working hard all season, and they deserve, your support going into the conference championship.
Yeah, and then they'll do that conference championship meet on October 26th.
Absolutely.
And then, swim and dive kicked their season off last week. Both teams got victories. Men won against Angela Adams State 217-63, and then beat McMurray 226-64, which were pretty impressive victories. Yeah. Men had 14 finishes, and then for the women, they beat Adams State 134-113, and then McMurray 160-95. A little bit closer, but they also face really tough teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Adams State from the RMAC, McMurray, a good Division III school. I know Coach Schroeder and Coach James are pretty happy with these first performances. The men's side, absolutely dominant. You talked about 14 wins out of only 16 events, folks. That means only 2 events we didn't win in, so that's pretty dang good. The women won half of those 16 events against 2 other teams, so you're stacking pretty well against that. We swept the diving boards across both genders. Some really good freshman performances across the board. A couple upperclassmen had good performances. I think Coach Schroeder couldn't be happier with that season opener. And I think the thing about our swimming team you got to keep in mind is we swim in an extremely difficult conference. The RMAC for swimming and diving is probably the best in the country, if not one of the top couple best. So when you can get that chance to swim against some other teams not in your conference, you really want to take advantage of that and show off well. And we did that this weekend. And now similar to cross country, they have a few weeks off before they compete again in Arkansas. So we'll see, now that they got that first beat under their belt, they got to see how the relays work and how they do against real competition. Now you go back to the pool, and now the training becomes really important on how do you kind of flush some of that stuff out that you saw from the opening weekend.
Kind of like you just mentioned, at Henderson State, October 24th. So it'll be exciting to see if they can kind of build on the momentum they started the season with.
Yeah. And then something else for swimming and diving, November 2nd, we're actually hosting a home meet. So if you're around Com Aquatics in Midland, come out and support. As of now, that's the only home meet on the schedule this year for the Falcons. So that'll be a great chance to come out and just see what it all looks like in person. If you've never been to a swimming and diving meet, I can promise you it's not like any other sporting event you've been to. It's really fun and exciting. It's nonstop. I think of football being really fast. Swimming and diving, they go from heat to heat, from race to race, nonstop. And they're just, it's just kind of like clockwork. So if you ever get a chance to come out and see that and see the divers, if you've never watched diving in person, like it's one thing to watch it on TV, the Olympics, watch it in person, it's a whole nother thing. It's really cool. You really get an appreciation for how difficult some of that stuff is that they're doing.
And also be their senior day. And then you've never been to Com Aquatics, it's a beautiful facility. Diving facility is just as beautiful as the swim facility. So you're in town, has nothing to do, come check it out.
It's our only home event that week, and again, November 2nd, so definitely come out if you can.
Oh, yeah. And kind of just wrap things up golf. Last week, won the RJGA South Central Shootout, and then Will Tate, who finished second, also was Lone Star Conference Player of the Week.
Yeah, probably one of the more exciting sports going on right now. Just, the hype around that men's program, coming off, like you said, the win there at their last tournament, finished ahead of West Texas, who's ranked number 20 in the country. They're playing right now. at the Ryan Palmer Invitational, and again, as of the end of round 2, ahead of West Texas again.
Yeah.
So like if you're consistently beating a top 20 team, which it looks like they are now, you're making a case for yourself to be a top 20 team. So that's really exciting on the men's side. You talked about Will Tate and his finish, Conference Player of the Week, like. Just, great weekend for the men, and the women had a great week the weekend before. Now they're back in action, 2 individuals competing, trying to get, that top 5, top 10 spot like they did the first tournament. They're in Pueblo, very tough competition there. I think there's 3 or 4 ranked teams in that event. So same thing on the men's side with the Ryan Palmer, 4 or 5 ranked teams in that event. So tough competition, but Coach Chavez, we talked about him today actually being one of the coaches on our staff with kind of the most swagger and, just proud of his program. And I think it shows on the course to win. It was his second NCAA tournament on the men's side, and to walk away with a team winning that, 3rd win in program history, gigantic. It couldn't have asked for a better start from that program.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the women are right that step next year, because they have nothing that's official right now, but they have a couple good golfers coming in that should make that team just as formidable.
I think that's the hope, and I think with Paul right now, it's hard to doubt him. Like he's done it at the junior college level, and he's doing it here so far. So if he can get players in, he can coach them up, and he talks about that a lot. His philosophy and just what his standard, what he expects of his golfers. Like when we go to play, doesn't matter who we're playing against or how we feel, but we're going to win. Yeah. And I think again, to win your second tournament is just nuts to me. Like it probably shouldn't have happened that way, and it does. So kudos to him and that staff, assistant coach Paul Slaughter as well, and then of course the players.
Yep. Well, before we wrap things up, I'd like to thank HEB for sponsoring this podcast. We always thank you for your support.
At HEB, we know that game day is about more than the game itself. The taste of victory is unparalleled, but so is the taste of HEB jalapeno poppers hot off the grill. Seeing the best players in their prime is truly something to behold. So is an HEB Prime 1 burger that you grilled to perfection. For low prices on all the things that make game day great and delicious, visit HEB, your official game day headquarters, or use the Buy HEB app to start prepping for game day right away.
Well, that's about it, Ricky. So until next time.
All right, Brandon, thank you.
Falcons up.